YouTubers, and thank you for tuning into today's very different video on YouTube. And as strange as it sounds, I've got a very different idea because yes, well guess what? It's been a very strange September because as obvious as it sounds, it feels more like it's a sweat September. Would you get that, guys? It actually is. It very much is a sweat September. Who knows? Are we going to get a hot Tober? Oh my god, the jokes really do die hard. Oh, the good old jokes don't, you know, die so hard. They do really die so hard sometimes, but not this time. So yes, in this video I've actually thought of a very impressive idea to showcase on why it's been a very hot September, and yes, we had temperatures going up to 33.2. That's like the same equivalent temperatures to that of Malaysia, as funny as it sounds, and other parts around the tropics, I guess. Yeah, in the equatorial type regions. I don't know what to really say though, because I don't want to contemplate and probably, you know, breach into other countries that might get people ranty and upset and say, oh, your country ain't that hot like that, you know, or, you know, hey, stop comparing our countries and whatnot though, but hey, I can be free wherever I want to be. So yes, in this video I'm going to be talking about the September heat wave, which is also known as the Indian summer, but it's not coming from India or has nothing to name after from like the Indian subcontinent. Maybe it's the fact that when it's so hot in the USA, the Native Americans would have continued their long maiden of hunting. I'm pretty sure that's what they're... And pretty sure that's where the origin comes from, the Indian summer. And I've got the towel fan with me, because, you know, it's been very relatively sticky, uncomfortable and muggy last night. But I did a whole bunch of drawing, so that's why I decided to stay up all night alone, awake at night. And boy oh boy, wasn't it so muggy and sticky and very dingy outside. It really has been, as obvious as it sounds. I'm not sure I'm going to do a jump cut, because I can tell what the guys say. Been drinking loads and loads of water bottles. Today it's been an absolute crap mess, because I can tell what, my workbench is completely, stupidly and utterly messy. It really has been totally and utterly messy. I've also been picking some acorns, so that's why I've got some old oak leaves around here, oak tree leaves. Yeah, this one looks a bit, you know, worse for wear, and this one's been blown down by the towel fan because it's just so chronically hot outside. That could be great for a bit of taxidermy, wouldn't it, hey? A bit of plant taxidermy, hey? Maybe to start doing a bit of colouring and such. And I mean, that really is crazy. It's so crazy to be, you know, unusually hot for this time of the year. It really is. And I mean very, very unusually hot though. It really is crazy. Just to think of how much heat we have been obtaining so much of late. And I might as well just do a jump cut, because the frame rate is overall getting a little bit crap. Okay, I just did a nice jump cut over the BBC weather forecast, and yes, as I said before, it was 33.2. I can't really remember which place it was. If I put a title up, that's for sure. Yeah, that's actually kind of amazing. So here's the weather forecast for Sunday. It's not as hot, so I think it's about 4 or 5 degrees cooler than what we had previously on Saturday, which was 31 degrees Celsius. Crikeys, it does feel like I'm in the middle of Malaysia. And whoever says I blew up Malaysia, well, go ahead and kick yourselves in the butt. Well, without being totally and utterly, well, argy-bargy with that being said, sorry for the absolute, you know, profane dialogue I've got there at the moment though, because, you know, I would hate to, you know, decipher and compare one country versus another in terms of climate, because every climate is different in its very good ways actually. And here is the map. So yes, as obvious as it sounds, and yeah, you can definitely tell on why it's been so hot of late, is this weather chart here. I should show you why it has been so hot of late though. And yes, this hot weather is about to decay because we've got some low pressure, of course, But before that, we had low pressure to the west, didn't we? And then we also had high pressure to the east, although there's another high pressure that's about to nudge in. But overall, I don't think that's going to bring in some very hot tropical air. If I go ahead and press full screen, and if I zoom out, then we'll start to see the whole full bigger picture. And this is what it's going to be, you know, like, I suppose, from like the next couple of hours of such. And if I scroll this along, not all places may see thunderstorms, but oh, this is actually from Saturday. Sorry, if I go towards the weather forecast on Sunday, yes, this is where we'll be getting. This is where we'll be getting. Yeah, well, we've only just had a hint full of rain earlier on in the morning, but to actually show you the pressure outside, it's very important to do so. So we've got some observations, and there's the long forecast day. But let's not forget about the pressure, because what we can definitely say about the pressure system in the rest of Europe and Africa, and also the Middle East, as you can definitely see on the right hand corner. Okay, but we're only going to be concentrating on Europe and Africa at the moment though, because that's very important to know and why it's been so hot of late. So yes, we had very hot temperatures from like, well, we were coming from like, where is the hot temperatures from? Of course, yes, it's from like Eastern Europe and, well, yes, Southeastern Europe, so our winds were coming from a southeasterly direction. So it would have also explained that there would have been some tropical storms. I'll probably guess like Tropical Storm Franklin out in the Atlantic Ocean. Yep, that was like a, I don't think it was a hurricane, I can't really remember what it was. But yes, we had Tropical Storm Franklin on the Atlantic Ocean. We also had other severe storms. There's Lum right over at the, that's my cursor here, eh? So we had some very, very, very severe storms overall across Spain earlier on, I think, and there was also some very torrential downpours in Greece and Turkey. I think that was one of the main root causes of what was happening back then, and that would probably fed us some very hot tropical air, and it would have also, believe it would have headed up towards Egypt. Who knows? Am I blessing the rains down in Africa? Well, think again, because, well, so that's where we normally get our hot air from. All of that Sahara dust. Am I going to bless the rains down in Africa again? Well, not really, of course, but hey, because we're really thinking about the hot air in the UK at the moment, eh? Because it does feel very African, although to me it feels more Malaysian, because I've already been there many times to Malaysia and whatnot. So I don't think the air would have came from like the western part of the Middle East, and possibly like North Africa, of course. Or you're probably thinking, oh, but I mean, you're making this one up. You're making the whole, you know, Winter Bureau up though. So that's where we get our hot air from. Up the way from like Morocco and the Mediterranean. Although the Mediterranean does not present as big wildlife and fauna compared to like Africa. Africa is like the bigger, sort of older continent in the region. It's also the hottest continent in the region. As you may have noticed, that's where we get our hot air from, like Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, these sort of places. In fact, that's where we get our hot air from, as obvious as it sounds. And that's why it has been delivering a very massive dome of high pressure. And overall, one thing I've also realised, that when the high pressure system collided into the UK, and when the hot air bumped into the UK, now I think what we got was an omega blocking pressure. So that was what was happening back then. And I think the jet stream was actually veering up northwards. So what happened was that we had this omega blocking pressure, which actually meant that when high pressure was dominating at this part of Europe, well, the low pressure systems were veering away from the UK, meaning that rain was pretty much sporadic, or in this case, very much veering away, and very much less common of a forecast. And if we go up towards like this here, this is pretty much very, very, very good advice here, because I'm doing this as a bit of meteorological sense, as you can definitely tell, and this is how a heat dome is formed. So a massive dome of warm air, or a mass of warm air, builds up in still and dry summer conditions. High pressure in the atmosphere pushes the warm air down, and the air is compressed and gets even hotter. So yes, when the high pressure sinks down, that's when you get such very hot temperatures, especially when it's very, very sunny and very hot. But nevertheless, when you have low pressure involved, it does increase the humidity, I think. I might be totally wrong, but it does increase the humidity, and the atmospheric conditions do become extremely unstable like we are now. But yes, of course, all of it is set to change. So yes, with the pressure systems changing, yep, we're getting low pressure systems. Yep, these highs are moving away eastwards, as you can definitely tell. If I should show you the Monday forecast, you can definitely see that high pressure is sinking downwards, or is moving, it's retreating eastwards, or sinking downwards to the south and the east. And look at that low pressure system, it is coming from like the Atlantic. And of course, yes, I think what we've also noticed is that we also had another low pressure system that might have been developed right over at the Bay of Biscay, just like the one in June of 2021. That's my gut feeling. And what's even more surprising about the September heat wave that we are seeing now, okay, we're getting so much of it high. Yep, loads and loads of news reports say, oh, there's a giant hurricane, Hurricane Lee? That's named after my surname, isn't it? Oh God. Mind you, I think Hurricane Lee, where is it hitting? Where is it hitting? I want to know where it is. Oh, I hope to get droughts and stuff though, eh? Where is it though? Oh, it's somewhere in the United States of America that, mind you, it will be totally and utterly frightening to know. Let's just hope my computer doesn't crash along the way and gets totally fried like an absolute brainiac in the middle of a sandstorm, I tell ya. So yes, it really has been very unusually hot for September. So how could you ever say that September would be pretty much an autumnal month, when in reality it's now becoming a new summer month? Replacing both July and August for some reason, eh? Because both July and August were basically two summer months that unfortunately missed the mark. And that was because of a whole ton of rainfall it has dumped. As strange as it sounds, it really has dumped higher, above average rainfall than it was expected in the first place. Although June was very hot, although it was drier, possibly worse than average, but hey, with that being said, hey, it was something to think upon. So there you go, that's why it's been very, very hot of late in September of 2023, just to clear out my verdict and to pretty much get something out of my chest, because hey, we don't want anybody to be totally and utterly fried out by this absolute maniac of a hot weather system at the moment. So anyways, if you really enjoyed this video, please give this video a like, subscribe for more fun videos in the future, and as always, thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.